I would work and do things with the clubs, and talk about the clubs and the pro staff. So
Right. I totally forgot to go live, y'all.
I was getting ready to say I just saw that. let's start.
I'm glad Tim reminded me.
Let's start all over.
I don't. I promise I got water in this cup.
Wow, dude, I didn't even catch the fact that we weren't live. I was like, "What is going on?"
Hey, what the
Well,
heck?
on this side of things, man, I didn't know either.
That was
I
impressive.
promise there's just water in this cup, guys.
This is the special episode after dark hours episode.
Yeah, after dark. But
that is funny.
we're back at it now. We had a misfire. Yeah, certainly a misfire, big one.
Yeah, we were sitting here talking. You guys just didn't see us. That's all.
Yeah,
you guys got to pay the super exclusive membership to get the actual intro.
Let's do it. Let's kick it off, baby. Let's restart.
Kick that intro off. Y'all want to restart it?
Let's do it. Rewind.
That's so funny.
We'll kick it back off here about. So we're live now, folks, but we're gonna throw a little
start over. So
That's what I'm talking about. Now that's what I'm talking about. After hours.
So everybody who missed the first introduction to John, I'll throw this out there. He is a West Virginian, ex-law enforcement retired, lives in the valley between two mountains that he don't get no internet signal hardly.
Yeah, so you guys missed all that. Yeah, that was our pre-roll there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm John Rapp. I've been retired. I hung up my gun belt last year after carrying a gun for 30 years. I did 21 years with the West Virginia State Police. Moved over to and worked a contract job with U.S. Marshal Service. I was telling Dan about that. It's a good gig. You can't beat that. But what got me into the fishing industry is I went fishing with a bunch of troopers to Santee Cooper in South Carolina for a week. We'd go down for a whole week and had a great time, so ended up buying a little 10-foot bass raider that I could throw in the back of my truck and hit the local ponds, float the rivers around here. And it got a hole in it after using it for about a year. And my wife and I decided to, we wanted to look around, try to replace it. And we ran into a kayak shop right here next to the New River Gorge Bridge. Ace Adventure Resort has a place called Ace Adventure Gear. And they sold just about everything in the book. You had Wilderness, Jackson, Phil Freeze, Natives. Bonafide wasn't around back then. So those were and Crescent was, I don't even think they were around. And neither was Vibe. I mean, so you were just talking some limited choices. And we ended up getting a couple Phil Freeze. And I've been with that team now for 10 years and helped manage their pro staff now. And because of being affiliated with Phil Free all those years and the marketing director who lives in Austin, Texas, also worked with Zpro Lithium, and they were talking about, mentioned me, and Michael from Zpro brought me on, and now I manage the Zpro team and help run the club sponsorship side of the house too. So
good deal. So yeah, that's the second intro. So we're that now. Yeah. So,
I did cut him a little bit of break, and I limited some of that. I cut it down.
So John, what we really want to talk about tonight is the Zpro batteries, the lithium side versus the old lead and the AGMs and things like that. So just tell us the breakdown of, because a lot of people don't understand about a lithium versus AGM and lead. They just know it's lighter.
Yeah,
as far as my understanding of it is, you get the full 12 volt maybe 13.22 volts for a longer period of time versus like a lead or an AGM style battery.
Well, think of it like a slicky slide. You know, when you run a lead battery, and you guys have been out there with your trolling motors and stuff, or watched your graphs. You know, the brightness will start decreasing, and then you'll start seeing some like fading around the edges. The battery's dying. Or with your trolling motor, you know, you'll be keeping going, and you're at level 6, and you're watching. You're going 4 mile an hour. Then next thing you know, you're still at level 6, and you're dropping down to 3.7, then 3.5. The battery gradually dies. With a lithium battery, it doesn't. It doesn't die that way. It's straight across the line, then dies. When it's dead, it's dead. It'll give you a full charge, full run until it dies. So that's the biggest thing I can tell you about when you're looking at the two differences. And of course, in our world, the kayak world, we're looking at something that's lighter, smaller packaging, and now with like Zpro has a great feature now that you can use your phones to check Bluetooth capability. So you like I have the NK180 on the back of my Moken 12.5. I got a 24 volt 65 AH. I took it up to Lake Erie for a week. We go up there and fish for a week in May, catch those smallmouth coming in to spawn, and I ran it for 4 days up there. Didn't run the battery down below 50%.
Yeah.
And not that I ran it hard, but I ran it constant. So I would start at the beginning of the bay, and I would run across the bay, and I would let the waves work me back. You know, if I found the bed, I would sit on it, catch fish, let go, look for a bed, catch fish, work my way back, and keep doing that all day for 4 days. So I ran it hard, but you know, it's a great way to look, and you know, you cannot beat having that Bluetooth ability to check and see what your status is, especially if you know you got a storm coming and you want to beat that storm. You want to know how much juice you got so you can hammer down and get back.
So as far as the amp hours, if you're running camera systems versus, you know, some of these guys are running 2 graphs with live scope now. Let's start off with the lowest battery and go to the 100 amp battery. I know there's some 20 volt systems and a 36 volt system that Zpro has, but we're talking about 100 amp or less on most kayaks. So if you're just running a typical, I would say probably if you're running live or not live scope, but down imaging, side imaging, and traditional sonar, what type of lithium battery would you suggest to anglers?
I really can't give a suggestion like that because I can tell you what our guys have been doing. I've seen guys come across here in the past month, and they're buying the 165 12 volt. You know, because they've got that XI3 up front, and they're using that 12 volt battery, and they want as much as they can get to run as hard as they can. And then they'll have a 50 AH to run their electronics and their live scope, their lighting and things like that. Because a lot of the times you don't want to run the same battery on both because there'll be some feedback.
Right.
But I think Mike, we were talking here earlier, Mike's got a great testimony. Mike, tell them what you've done with your Zpro 30. I mean,
so the main reason, and it's purely out of laziness, to be honest, but it was I wired a fuse block in the front of my kayak. So I have an Old Town topwater. It's a PDL, and I wanted to be able to run 2 GoPros and I don't have I'm talking it's a Lowrance hook. It's not I'm not running live scope and all the fancy stuff on it, but I was sick of charging up 3-4 batteries. Like I go on a camping trip every year. It's 4 days. And I got sick of having to buy 4 or 5 battery banks at Walmart that pretty much don't even last a season because they're cheap. And then having to remember to charge 4 or 5 battery banks, swapping them out on my cameras, having to duct tape them to the mount, keep them dry. So what I did is literally wired in a fuse block. I run that one lithium battery. I actually literally have it like velcroed in the front so it stays secure. I run 2 GoPros for, and I've done this all summer too. So every video you guys saw in 2023 was powered by Zpro. Like literally, my GoPros are running off of that battery for 8 hours a day in any rain, sun, doesn't matter what the conditions are. And it gets hot inside of a kayak if you guys don't realize. It's taking some abuse. And a lot of times I don't even take it out of my kayak. I just leave it strapped in there. So it's riding on my trailer back and forth. It's getting thrown around. And I've never had it. I don't think mine has the, I'd have to look at it, but I don't know if mine has the actual like a Bluetooth ability. I think the 30, I don't think those ones have
They don't. No, it's
But
50
I've never had it
above
die.
50. Yeah.
And the other benefit that people don't think about, like tournament guys and stuff like that won't think about a little bit more. Lithium charges a hell of a lot faster than AGM or lead acid. So you're also not having to, if you're camping or you need to just get it charged, if you try to charge a lead acid battery, you're going to be sitting there for a long time. Those lithiums, they charge quick. Like I usually get home from fishing, throw it on the charger, eat dinner, watch some TV, and it's pretty much done by the time I go to bed. I don't have to
You're
wait
right.
all night long to charge that thing.
And the other thing about the application is you can use a Zpro battery or any lithium battery on its side because it's not
Yep.
liquid based.
Right.
So, hey, I believe that was Roy that made a comment there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think this is Roy. It says John.
Yeah.
John. If y'all don't know Roy Wigden, he owns USA Kayak Fishing Magazine. You'll see the cover behind me here. Go over to his Facebook page, USA Kayak Fishing, and all that, and get subscribed. And he'll be putting out some more issues here shortly. Some good read articles in there. I think that article had Zpro team member David Sanchez on the cover. A good write up about him in there and things like that.
Good dude right there. Yep.
Yeah. So, but I know he's working on some other things as well. I'm gonna try to get him on the show here in the near future.
I was gonna say, I think he's supposed to come on my show too this month, so we can promote it in this area here. So,
right. So, good point, John. What podcast do you run?
Okay, guys. I run on Tuesday nights live the Rusty Hook Kayak Fishing Podcast. It's at Rusty Hook Podcast. You can find my show on my page, or you can also find it on the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We do a show just about every night on the network. We've got, I think, 6 or 7 shows that we air. Right now, we did have 10, but a couple people are on hiatus right now due to some personal reasons. We hope to bring them back in the near future and get them live and running again. But we have a saltwater show with Dustin Nichols out of Texas. Randy Newton, you guys all should probably know him, where he did Chad Hoover's show in the past. He's got a show. Then we've got the True Patriot Outdoors from Colorado. They're on our network now, and they also do the All American Kayak Series there in the Midwest. They do their podcasts. So, and the Noob Show, it's a bass fishing show for noobs, for new people getting into the industry. So we have guest hosts that do that. Got a couple other shows that we've got on hiatus right now. Like I said, the Mindset and the Reel Down. We're going to recruit some new hosts for those. And you can find those shows on Waypoint TV or Waypoint, and it's a big network. We're really proud of our group, and we're trying to educate all the new folks and get them involved either in salt, regular water. Just our goal, just like you, Dan, Mike, is to get somebody in a boat and give them an avenue to get out and decompress and enjoy life and let the stresses from work and other issues just fade away while they're out there doing this.
Right. So yeah, we've got a question from Tim Williams. Since he has an Old Town PDL 120, what's a good battery amperage for that?
See if Tim, tell us what you want to run that with that battery, and we'll give you a good suggestion. Are you just talking about a motor, or are you going to run lights? You going to run a live sonar, live scope, stuff like that?
I'll tell
Give
you
me an
guys, I had to get super nerdy with mine when I picked mine. So there's actually ways to calculate it, but if you actually look at the specs, like for example GoPros, they'll tell you what their amp draw is. If you do the math, you can figure out how much you're going to draw per hour, and then you can kind of get an idea of, okay, if I have a camera, it's going to draw this much. I'll tell you, unless you're running, so if you're running traditional down imaging, I'm calling down imaging traditional at this point, because with live scope, that's kind of like the old school way now, but like down imaging in 2D, and you're not running like forward facing, fish finders don't use much.
You just need
When
a
you
30
start
amp.
throwing that forward facing stuff on there, that's when you're going to start sucking the power down, or a motor.
I believe one of the guys I have on my team has been doing some work with his 30 amp like you have, Mike, and I believe he's gotten between 12 and 16 hours out of his live scope. So
I wouldn't be surprised.
That's pretty good. He's getting at least and of course it depends on how active you are using it. So Tim says motor and lights. It's my wife and mine. I have all lights and two fish on. I would go with a 30. I would go with a 30. That's all you need. And if you want more, go with the 50. That would be extra safe. And if you're going on a 2-night float somewhere, or even 3 days, you have that battery to pull off the boat, take it to the campground, charge your phones and stuff like that. But I think a 30 would do what you need.
30 has a lot of power. It doesn't seem like much. And guys, it's literally this big.
Yeah, like, it's not very big at all.
Right there.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a very big battery.
How about grab it and show them, Mike? That way they can see it.
I've been working from the office, so you guys get to see my pajama pants.
Oh, yeah.
So, business
good call,
with a
Dan.
waist up situation.
Good call, Dan.
That right there, guys, is what runs my GoPros for... I ran them for 4 days without having to charge this. And my fish finder, which is just a Lowrance hook. It's nothing fancy, but...
So you're basically, guys, it's the size of his hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not very big. And
turn it sideways there. Yeah. Turn it sideways.
Super light.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
So if you guys think of like width-wise, it's not much wider than like your old school motorcycle batteries. Really. It's not much wider than that. It's just a little bit taller.
Deer feeder
battery. That's
battery.
about it. Yeah, deer feeder battery. And it's light. And honestly, I will tell you right now, I am not gentle on my stuff. This has ridden in my kayak all the way back from Massachusetts more than once because I forgot to take it out of my kayak. Getting thrown around, like, I've dropped it. I've done a lot to it, and I've never had this thing fail. I've never had overloads. I've never had short circuits. It's just... And I'm not a professional electrician. I ran this into a Walmart fuse block with some wire that was in my garage. We're not talking, like I literally... And it's honestly, the way it's set up, it's perfect for a kayak because of the weight, and you can just carry it around. And I don't know how long, how long should it take to charge from dead? I don't, from, not dead, but, depleted, let's say. I don't know, a few hours, it feels like. Yeah.
It depends on the charger, if you got a 5 amp or a 10 amp.
I bought the Zpro one that you guys sell, so... I forget what it's called, but it's the little...
Yeah, I think Byron had a question, too. It says, how much does that one cost? I think I looked just up on the website.
It's $199.
Yeah,
it's
not much at all.
The 12-volt 30 AH is $199. It weighs 5.1 pounds. It's 7 by 3 by 7 is the size.
Yeah. So. Yeah, if you have an Old Town, guys, it fits literally right. You can set it right in the hole, right in any kayak, like the little tank well hole. You pretty much can put it any direction and it will fit in there. It doesn't.
Right.
Yeah. So I tell you, You can't go wrong with them because of their functionality, their lightness, and their size. But again, each application you have to consider how you're going to use it.
what you want to
So
use it for. Yep.
keep
Yeah,
that in mind when you're getting ready to buy. So
yeah. I think Roy said a good dedicated battery for fish finders provide the clearest signal for your fish finder.
Yep.
So,
yeah,
if you're
Absolutely.
running a trolling motor and a fish finder, you're going to get feedback from that trolling motor when it's cut on
yep, that's
across the
exactly
screen.
right.
Yeah. So,
A lot of the guys are wiring those up, and hell, you got a great shop, one of the best in the nation, over at Westbrook Supply. I mean, Fletch
yeah,
and Mike,
Fletch.
they can
Yeah,
they can rig up some boats like yesterday. So
that's right. Yeah, them guys. I I think I saw at the last ICAST last year when they did the
yeah,
competition from
yeah,
the
with him and
The
Romel,
West Coast. Yeah, him and Romel did the
yeah,
competition. Man, them guys put speakers. They put Bluetooth speakers on them boats. And,
that new canoe was decked out, no
yeah,
doubt.
it was.
I
Who
reached
ended up
out
with
to.
them? Do you know who ended up with them boats, or are they just show boats?
I honestly don't know if they sold them or if they gave them away or donated them. I don't remember how that worked out.
Gotcha.
I just got off. I was reached out to Fletch because I'm looking at buying that Dorado, and I was going to ask him. My goal was to put NK300 on the back of it,
Yeah.
and I'm like, get that guy down there. He told me to have the feel free guys to take one of the refurbished replacement ones and cut it in half and send the ass of it down to him so he could use that to build the
The
as a template for
yeah.
it. I'm like, so I reached out to those guys and told them to do that for us, hopefully. So if you
Right.
And
got
for
a
you big
Dorado,
boat guys too, while we're talking about boats, Zpro does make bigger batteries. You guys make 24 volt too, right?
yeah, we have
Right.
24 and 36.
So for the
So
trolling motor guys, if you don't want to have to go buy too big, that's another advantage of lithium is you get one 24 volt battery instead of having to run two connected.
Well, yeah.
That's
and,
another advantage of lithium.
and when I was at the East Tennessee show down in Knoxville a couple weeks ago, that was what a lot of the guys were talking about that were coming
Yep.
and talking to us because they'd have that 24-volt trolling motor on the front of their boat. And you think, okay, they got two 12-volt batteries from Walmart that weigh 75 pounds each, and they
Yep.
can replace that with a battery that weighs 31 pounds.
Yep.
I mean,
And
so
honestly, in my opinion, from the research I've done, it's more consistent power. You're not getting
yes,
like a weird
Yeah.
because you're not connecting two batteries and requiring draw off of both. It's just and I'm actually upgrading my bass boat this year, and I've been toying around because see I have an old Tracker Pro Team. There's no room for another battery. It's a 12 volt. It was designed for a 12 volt trolling motor. So I'm going to be putting them. I'm actually going to be putting the batteries up front in the compartment that goes under the seat. I'm just going to put the batteries up there, wire them, and then run them through. But I've been kind of like tossing around because it is a bigger price point when you start getting into those 24 volt batteries. But I'm almost on the edge of thinking about picking up a 24 volt to run the
well,
trolling
look at
motor
it.
off of.
This is the things that we were telling folks at the show. Okay, you're losing 100+ pounds. That's basically
Yep.
another angler or a
Yep.
small or your wife or a teenage kid.
Yep.
You're with that weight. You're going to get a little bit better performance from your boat when you're going up and down the. Not a lot. It's 100 pounds, 130 pounds, but it's
Yeah.
still weight. The other thing is with the cranking batteries. So that's one of the things that I learned at the show is that guys probably still need to stay away from lithium if you don't have a mercury motor
Yep.
because you have the uh, what are there? You got your carburetor or the two different pieces. Now I forgot the terms of how it worked, but you have the voltmeter. See, lithium when it's sending signals back and forth, lithium doesn't disperse the signal, so your
Yep.
alternator will fry or
Yep.
mess
Yeah.
up. Lithium won't disperse it like a lead acid does. So basically, the newer mercuries are the only ones that you can really go with a new cranking lithium battery
Yeah.
because it's a stator. That's what it's called. The
Yep.
boats have a stator instead of a alternator or something like that, and the stator doesn't process the signal with lithium. So
Yeah, yeah. That's what the trolling. See, for me, it's because the trolling motor I have now is an old motor guide. It's a 12 volt old school style, and I want spot lock, so I'm gonna go with a 24 just because I want the extra pounds. Because I fish Champlain, and with a 12 volt system, you get into a wind in Champlain, and you're just at the mercy of the lake. You're not gonna be
so
able to do
you're
much.
going to upgrade to a new trolling motor that runs 24-volt
Yeah, so
batteries.
I'm taking the 12 volt off, and what I'm actually gonna do. It's gonna be kind of overkill, but I'm leaving the same cranking battery in place. I'm gonna leave the battery that's currently my trolling motor battery. That's gonna stay, and I'm gonna take the plug out. I'm gonna take that wire. I'm gonna run that to run electronics off of in the front of my boat, and then I'm gonna throw in another 24 volt lithium or depends on what I can afford at the time, basically. But the idea is I'm gonna wire the 24 volt system up in my front of my boat under my seat, and then punch through and then come back through for the plug for the new trolling motor, so that I have an extra power source from the old battery. Because the other thing is my tracker is an aluminum, and I actually need that weight back there to keep that motor down. So if I pull that battery, it's actually going to affect performance on my boat because I need
Right.
that weight back there. It's designed to have that back there. So I figured I would keep that for the extra power source, but then I want to go with. That's why I was thinking lithium, because then I'm not adding. Then I'm going to have two batteries in the back and two batteries in the front. So now I got four batteries. So now I got even more weight in my boat. And like I said earlier, if I want to go on a family camping trip for a weekend and I want to be able to just charge up that lithium, I could bring my dad's little the little predator generator, throw it up
Yeah.
on the deck of the boat, and charge up that lithium in a couple of hours. Whereas,
Mhm.
those AGMs, I'm running that generator for 8 hours and pissing off everybody in the campground waiting for my batteries to charge.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah,
kind of
it's
where
a
my thought is that's, to be honest, the quick charging and the size is really, like, from a kayak standpoint, you're not going to put I mean, guys do it, but, and putting an AGM in a kayak is just a lot. Like, that's a lot of battery for a plastic boat. Whereas
Yeah.
these 30 pounds, that's a whole different story. That's not a big deal.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
yeah, especially
And,
when you're running long distances or against current, like in a river.
yep.
It you're pulling a lot of weight when you're going against a current in a river.
My next kayak's gonna have like a Newport or Torpedo or some style like that motor on it. But my Old Town, I'm at the point now where I'm pushing the limits of the weight of my Old Town because I only have the 10-foot model. So I can't put a trolling motor on my kayak. Otherwise, I would be running probably a 50 in the back for a trolling motor and a 30 for the rest of it. But
Hey, what's the weight capacity for your boat? I mean, you could probably still.
so the problem is, the kayak is 450, but I weigh 350.
Hey, that's okay. Get you a Bixby.
I could see. I've thought about it. The problem
Oh,
with it is that I found that with the way Old Town does their rudder system,
they got a
I
Vibe rudder
have
kit you could do.
yeah, I'd have
Yeah.
to swap it out. Yeah.
That's what I did. I used the Vibe rudder kit on my Moken 10.
Yep.
I got the Bixby J2 on that thing. That's my river
Yep.
boat. I take that
Yep.
thing down in the river, and just the Bixby's got that little funnel in the back where the propeller is. It,
Yep.
it it does a great job protecting on the rock from rocks. Now you get some weeds in there. I mean, anybody
Right.
that runs
Yeah.
in weeds is gonna get that. But
Right.
I ran it right up in shoals, pushed right through there, and when it got really really swift and I needed that extra help, I kick that Bixby as high as it go, and I get my paddle out and
Yep.
guide myself through the rocks to get up into
Yep.
it's a great little motor. I mean, and I'm 270, so it pushed me real well. Um, but that NK 180 is a great little rig too. You're looking at probably 16, 17 pounds with that motor at
Yeah.
max, and then another
Right.
30 pounds with the 65H. So think
Right.
45 pounds total adding to your boat.
Yeah, my bucket list right now is, so this year I wanted to get the trolling motor for the bass boat, and then next year I think I'm gonna end up buying a Titan. I'm gonna go with a native and get the Titan X with the swivel seat and all the fancy crap on it, and then
Yeah, I love my new
that's
canoe
already
with that
got
swivel
the
seat.
that's
Yeah,
already got the mounts and the reinforced areas to put the motors on it,
Yeah.
and I
yeah,
don't really
yeah.
care about having like an XI3 necessarily. I'm thinking Bixby or something like that on the back. I don't really need spot lock. I feel like if I have a pedal drive, I can spot lock my pedal drive, and I honestly probably could use some of the pedaling. It's more for getting to the spot, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody has their style and their way to fish, and you can use it to to enhance your time out on the water, however you decide you want to use it.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
the great thing about it.
And I will say, guys, I know you heard he was for Feel Free. That lure, my mom bought one of those. Feel Free lure is a pretty cool little pedal drive for somebody who's looking to get into one.
Well, the sweet package right now is that new Moken that
Yep.
came out. The Moken 10 and the Moken 12.5 with the pedal drives. The price points are low. The weight limits are massive.
Yep.
I've got the Moken 10, like I told you, that's set up for
Yep.
Beth, but Beth don't go out as much as she used to, and I just don't. It's so light. I can just
Wicked.
grab it and throw it in the back of the truck with that Bixby still attached to it, and
Yep.
go. You know,
Now, does that have that wheel in the back too, like the
it
lure
does.
did?
Yeah, it
That
does.
that is a fucking genius idea.
Yeah,
I don't know
It-
whose idea that was,
Yeah.
but if you haven't seen this thing, it's got a wide wheel right in the keel of the back of the boat. So when you get out of the water, you literally grab the handle and just roll it like a cart back to your car.
yeah. We always tell people
It
to
is
use it like
genius.
it's like a wheelbarrow, because that way
Yeah.
you can control it, and you're not dragging the sides if you're doing it if you're pulling it. Sometimes it'll get off balance, and you can drag it a little
Right.
bit. But
But
yeah,
still, it's like that thing is
Yeah.
awesome.
it is. It's a great concept. Saves you from spending $200 to $500 on a kayak cart.
Yep. Or putting
Yeah.
one of those sidekicks on there that you have to, like some of the. I love how like Native. It's funny because even though Native makes it, like even theirs on their Titans don't really fit perfectly. It's a little. You have to kind of adjust it a little bit to get it to stay on there right. And
Yeah. So
Robert,
Roy
it
from
depends.
USA.
Yeah, I was going to say,
uh,
Robert, so does it work on sand? Depends on what kind of sand. If it's soft sand,
Yeah.
nothing works.
no,
Nothing works.
Nothing,
But
no.
if it's decently solid, it'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So Roy says you were talking about the weight limit, Mike. He's talking about with or without the whole weight, the 450 weight limit. With or
So
without
some
the
people
whole
don't
weight.
realize is when you look at a kayak and it tells you the weight capacity, that's not counting the hull. I don't actually know how much my hull weighs on my Old Town. I think it's like 80 pounds.
Yeah, that's
But-
normally minus that. I think Chad Hoover and them guys did a study
Yeah.
on that a couple years ago, where
Yeah.
you take if it's got a 450 weight capacity minus the boat weight,
Yep.
and then
Right.
you normally go from there. So
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to encourage people to overload their boats, but let me tell you that Big Boy has 8 rods, 7,700 boxes, a 30 amp hour battery. And I fish Champlain.
a
Yeah,
cooler
Never
about
had
this,
a problem. Yeah,
cooler like-
never had a problem.
a cooler like this with the sandwiches and cold refreshments, and
Yeah.
Yeah, it's dude,
Yeah.
it's crazy how that's the main reason why I want it. It's funny because people ask me like, you're not happy with your Old Town, and I'm like, actually, I'm extremely happy with my Old Town, and for 2 reasons. One, I got the stupidest deal because West Marine screwed up horribly. So when I bought my kayak, I paid $900 for my Old Town because they listed it at the paddle price by mistake. So I got a pedal drive kayak for the paddle price, and that was before the price jump. So I only paid like almost $1,000 for a pedal drive kayak, and I have beat the crap out of that thing. But I want something bigger. I want a wider, longer boat because I do tournaments and I want to be able to have a little bit more space. That's the only reason why I'm upgrading. It's not because it's because Old Town hasn't changed. The problem with Old Town is the 2023 model looks exactly like the 2019 model. They haven't gotten bigger. They haven't changed much. It's the same hull. And I personally have seen a few different versions of the kayaks. I've looked at Bonafide. But I kind of like the native, just the way they're designed, like just the way they're set up.
I
If I
tell
was
you
gonna,
guys,
I think Tim said it was 99 pounds on the Old Town.
yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah.
I tell you, COVID has really killed a lot of our
Mm-hmm.
R&D from all of the brands because,
Right.
a couple years ago, right in the heart or after COVID, there was that plastic shortage. So
Yep.
they were having a hard time just producing boats, and you're seeing the market right now where, everybody had that stimulus money that was being passed around like candy, and they were spending that money, and everybody was selling kayaks. So you had that huge upswing. Everybody was buying kayaks. Well, right now it's all starting to come back down, and it's leveling back out to pre-COVID.
Yep.
And so everybody, they had all that money that was flush, and they were spending it, but they had no money, no place to spend it on because shortages were everywhere. And
Yep.
then shipping got crazy expensive because the
Nuts.
containers, the trucks. I mean, it's a nightmare. So hopefully we can survive the next year, and then we can get back to where all of our manufacturers can get streamlining again and get their stuff out and get all these R&D projects that's been sitting for the last 3 or 4 years
Yep.
out. And when we go to ICAST, we're seeing all these boats being brought up, and showed to us.
Yeah.
Well, and the funny part too is you have to think about, and it's not to disparage the manufacturers, but people were buying them. So why would they spend a lot of money investing in science when they couldn't even keep the ones that they did already design in the
Yeah.
stores? So why would you spend all that time designing something? Now we're kind of getting back to where you got to be
There's a
different
glut.
than the other
Yeah.
guy. Yeah.
Now you're going to see a bunch of sales on like you were talking about the Old Town from
Yep.
219 to 223. Well, Feel Free's done the same thing. They have come out with new boats like the new Mokins that they
Yep.
came out with the pedal drive, but you still have the same old lure that we're trying to move. So
Yep.
everybody's got those issues. Everybody
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. I see where New Canoe has went in partnership with Big Adventures now
Yes.
to help pour their boats.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I think they can.
they've moved. They're no longer up in the northern part of the nation. They're actually in North Carolina now.
New Canoe is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, so Blake moved from the West Coast to the East Coast.
Yeah, because he was over in Washington or Oregon or
Yeah,
somewhere.
Washington or somewhere like
So
that. Yeah.
now I don't know if he actually moved, but I know that the company was everything was up in Illinois or somewhere. Uh,
Yeah.
I think I can't remember, but
I feel like it's up that way somewhere. Yeah.
yeah, I think they moved down. That they're in North Carolina now. So
Yeah. They just come out with a new boat. I'm waiting to see that 10 they come out with. That I think it's going to be an excellent river boat. Just like the what is that, the Bonafide and all that they just come out with on the river series.
I don't know. I can't remember the number or the
Yeah.
identifier for that. So.
Yeah.
So you were saying you run a pro staff. Is that just constantly you checking your email and having 100 people trying to give them free stuff, or how does that work?
No, what I do is my Feel Free team is at 60 people.
Okay.
I actually just recruited 3 brand new people, brought them on the last 2 days. A guy from New York, a guy from Oklahoma, and a guy from out in California or Washington.
Okay.
So we typically like to try to have representation in everywhere that's in the nation. So we'll try to get 1 or 2 guys from everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Zpro, we did when I came on last year. They had a team of about 70, and we did a little weeding, cutting, and
Yep.
we're down to about 40 right now, and
Okay.
so we're just playing the field, watching, see who works, who's out there promoting, and that's
Yep.
what I do. Like I'm retired now. I just you're looking at my man cave. I'm working on it, getting it together. I'll come down here during the day and I'll check my emails, work with the teams, work with the companies, and then I'll just check the pages, the social media pages, um, and see who's. I'll do a hashtag search and check and see
Yep.
who's doing what, and just identify a few people, and then if I see somebody doing something, I'll friend them on Facebook, or I'll follow them and I'll watch them, see
Yep.
how they're doing. But the biggest thing about looking at pro staff work is we want people that promote and not bash.
Yep.
Obviously, we all three have different type of kayaks that we work with, that we fish out of. But none of us have said anything negative about what we fish in,
Yep.
because the goal is to work together, not against each other. The goal is to get everybody out and fish, and it's just like cars. You may have a Toyota or Chevy or a Dodge that you prefer because
Yep.
it fits you, it fits the way you operate, and it's the same thing in the kayak fishing world. And yes, Roy, you're right. Spreadsheets out the gazoo.
Yep. I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing that people get this like hung up on is they think that, and to be fair, there is, in my opinion, there's two different kinds of pro staffs because there is some companies, in my opinion, that abuse their pro staff people for free advertising, and there's really no like I've had deals where like I've gotten deals, and I'm not going to name the companies, but I'm going to say I've got emails where they're like, "Oh, we'll give you a rod deal. We'll give you 50% off the rods." Then you read the contract, and they're like, "But
You
you got
got
to
to
buy
buy
four hundred
six.
dollars worth of rods.
Mm-hmm.
You got to
In the
phase out
6
all your
months.
other rods."
Yeah.
And you go on their website, and their current sale right now is 50% off. So you're giving me the same price point that you're giving a retail customer. I've got to be exclusive to you and spend $300 a year for what to so I could put your logo on a shirt. Like some of
Well,
that stuff
that's
you have to be careful with, and that's where it gets tricky. Is like you got to like. That's why I was asking because like sometimes pro staffs are like it's free advertising, and from a business standpoint, I don't blame them because if you think about it, if I can give someone a 10% discount code and I give 150 people a 10% discount code and let them enjoy the fact that they have a logo on their shirt, I'm spending a lot less money than I am wrapping someone's boat.
well that's the thing.
So,
And those type people you're talking about, that they're not pro staff. They're logo chasers.
right,
Yeah.
right.
They could care less what what they do, and that's one of the things that I try to weed out. When we get
Yep,
people on, if we do, well, especially with Feel Free, well, every 6 months we do a review on our guys, and
yep,
I mean, and one of the things I've been with Phil, like I said at the beginning of the show, I'm not. I'm a loyal person. I've been with Feel Free 10 years in May. How many people do you know in this industry that goes from one boat to another boat to another boat over a period of time? I haven't
well, I
done that.
started a YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, I've been with
Yeah.
Feel Free the whole time. I love their product, but more importantly, it's not so much the product; it's the people.
Okay.
It's how they treat you and how they've treated me. And
Yep.
uh, the team that we have is right at 50 to 60 people. I've just brought on three, but the team that we've had has been together between 4 to 10 years. They haven't left, and it's not because of the boat; it's because of the people. You
Yep.
know, when you get around people that you enjoy being with, working with, promoting with, fishing with, traveling with, that's what it's all about. And that's what
Yep.
I tell people to go look at. Look at the people that you're going to be working with, and don't worry about the discount or the logo, because like you said, most of us are going to spend that money anyway. We're going to buy
Right.
what we
Yep.
want, what we're going to use. So, and
No, I
as
hear
Roy
you.
has said, it's about being in a family. And if you have a pro staff and you're part of a team that's more like a family and not a business, you're going to have more unity in that group.
Yep.
And
Right.
it's a lot like what you guys are building down there, Dan, with your club. I mean,
Right.
when you have a club and you have people that are loyal to your club, it's a lot like that. So
Yeah. Yeah. So going back to the pro staff stuff, and I know we got off topic here. We went down a Alex Rudd rabbit hole here.
Stop. I had Rudd on
Uh,
last week, so I'm used to doing rabbit holes. Sorry.
so, but you're talking. It's just like a high school athlete trying to get to the college level of sports. As a recruiter, you're looking at their social media. You're looking at how they post to social media, and what they post to social media, and how they carry themselves answering comments on that social media as well, right, John?
that's correct. And I also, when I look at you, and you know how you can look at people's profile and it tells you what groups they belong to. I'll
Right.
look to see what groups you're on, and if you're on a certain group, and there's some groups out there that I consider that are a little bit on the poisonous side of things. And if you're
Yeah.
active in those type of groups, it's not, Dan. You know the old tingle in the back of your neck that you feel sometimes when it's something like that. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, there's a little red flag right there. I'm going to put you over here on this list. You're not out of the conversation, but it's just about how you carry
Yeah.
yourself at all times.
Well, that's what people forget too, is that when you got that logo on your shirt and then you start swearing at a guy at the boat ramp, you're representing Zpro there. You got a
Yeah.
Zpro logo and you're yelling
Yeah.
at a kid because he's in the way at the boat ramp instead of like teaching him the proper thing, or you're
Hey,
doing
and
getting hammered on your boat and driving your boat drunk. That's just not a
Yeah.
good look for Zpro at that point.
this
Yeah.
time of year, what do people do all the time now? They pull this out and they record you. You know.
Try to
Yep.
go viral.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. All of a sudden,
And
Zpro's affiliated with that, and boom.
Or any
All of a
company can
sudden, they
be.
got bad look.
I mean, look. I mean, look at the. There's so much. Be happy for people when they work hard and they
Yeah.
succeed. Don't belittle them or be jealous of them. Emulate them. Look at what
Yep.
they've done and follow those success steps, the steps that they've taken to be successful. And reach out to them and pick their brain, but don't belittle them or critical of them because of the success they have. Um, I've seen posts in the past where you know some people have bragged about doing stuff, and then
Hmm.
so don't go out and try to be one of those people that say, "Hey, look at me, look what I did," because that also can be a negative when you're a what is it? What's the word for it? I love me type person.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever seen those guys that go do a good deed and then they promote it? Look
Yeah.
what I
Oh
did for
yeah.
this person. Hey,
Yep.
I'm a good dude, man. I did this.
Yeah.
People, why do you need to promote that? Just know in your heart that you've done something good for somebody, and karma will reward you in the long run. You will get rewarded for it.
I think the other thing that I see a lot too with like guys that do like the pro staff stuff is there's, in my opinion, and maybe it's just me, maybe I'm just more old school, but like when you get a guy and you're watching a video and he's trying to shove the product down your throat, it's a turn. Like there's a way to do it. Like when I promote a company or when I'm talking about something that I like, I'm just like, oh, I caught this bait on my A-Bay lure. Look, and then throw it back. It's not, I caught this bait and you need to use this bait because this is the best bait and the bait, and then like
For the next 45 seconds.
Yeah.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
just like I get it, and that's how it used to work, but now like I'm at the point now where, to be honest, it's not to disparage the pros, but like when you watch it, it's like that they're being paid because in 2023 this guy was like, this Abu Garcia is the best reel that I've ever used in my life and you need to go buy one. And then 6 months later he's going, this Lose is the best reel that I've ever used and you
Yeah.
need to go buy one. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't like
You can't trust
I
them
don't
what they
like that.
say. The
Yeah, I'm
credibility's
like,
out
I'm
the
not
window.
gonna go buy it. Like, whereas if you just see a guy like Alex Rudd is probably my favorite when it comes to something like that, because like he's probably, they honestly should just change the Money Badger to the Rudd at this point, because that dude has probably sold thousands of that bait for Berkeley, but it's not because he talks about it. It's just because he just goes and fishes every 4 episodes with this thing and boats 15 3-pounders. He's not catching 10-pounders like Milliken. He's catching 3-pounders, but he'll pull in 15 in a video and go, oh, look, the Money Badger worked again, and throw it back in.
No.
That's what I think people don't get, is like, that's why I started a YouTube channel, because I got sick of watching. And it's funny because I disparage them, but I also watch their stuff because they're really smart and educational. But like Tactical Bassin got out of touch for a while, and they were talking about discount combos, and they were talking about, oh yeah, you need this Corrado reel and this St. Croix rod, and this is a good budget. And I'm like, the rod costs more than 3/4 of the rods combined that I own.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing that people forget about is subliminal work.
Yep.
You know, I mean, take a look at what you're telling people about you behind you. You know,
Exactly.
all those different baits. You know, and I love Dan's curtain. You know, he's
Hey,
a
Amazon
crankbait king.
special, man. I'll
He's
give you
saying, look at
Amazon
all
link.
my crankbaits.
and that's what it is like, for me it's all about like, I want to educate people. This isn't a career for me, don't get me wrong. If Pure Fishing called me tomorrow and said, hey, we're going to offer you a deal, I'd probably take it. But the reason for that would be because Pure Fishing owns everything, and I have a lot of diversity there. If a company came and offered me an exclusivity deal, I'd have to really look at it, because I like experimenting with stuff.
Well,
I don't
it's
like
just
being pigeonholed into, one thing, and I like being able to say, hey, try this, use this technique, because I got sick of watching guys that would make it seem like the only way to catch a 5-pound bass is with a $300 rod and a $250 reel with $50 spool line, when my first 5-pounder I caught on a Hank Parker lose combo that cost me $20.
Hey man, you can't go wrong with the Fluger President spinning reel for $50.
Dude,
Oh, heck no.
Flugers, like, honestly,
I mean-
spinning reels, a lot of times I buy like Daiwa. You can buy the Ugly Stick GX2
Yeah.
reel. That thing has been tried, true, tested for ever.
Yeah.
You want to go
So,
just fish? Buy an Ugly Stick.
Mike, I got a few comments over here starred, one especially for you when you're talking about taking your shirt. Roy just says, take it off and yell at them.
I mean, yeah.
But, you can't expect to act like an ass, and these companies want you to work for them acting like an ass.
I see it all the time. I see these guys with jerseys
Yeah.
on Lake Champlain, and I know half of them that they're not even sponsored by half of the companies on that shirt. Like,
Yeah.
I know they bought that shirt at some store somewhere, but like, it's just
they
I've seen
download
these guys come up to me on their bass boats and they blow me open. They blow by me with my kayak, almost, they wake boat me practically, pull up next to me, like I'm in their way, cast 2 times, swear at me for being on their spot, turn around, and bail out. And I'm like, dude, if I was someone who didn't know that it's not you don't necessarily represent those companies, I'm going to see Rapala across the back of your shirt and go, fuck Rapala, because that guy's a dick.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that stuff. I mean, honestly, just me saying that right there is bad for a brand. But, it's something that I hate seeing all these guys that misrepresent their companies, because I'll admit, like I said, if Pure Fishing were to call me and offer me a sponsorship, I would completely change a lot of the things I do, because there's some things that code of conduct on my channel that I swear sometimes, but
Yeah.
So these guys that get these opportunities squander them sometimes.
Yeah. So my wife used to work in marketing for a big aircraft company locally here. I ain't gonna say the aircraft company because it might get me throw me in a loop with YouTube, get sued or something. But she has taught me a lot about marketing. And if you know, SCGKBF is a brand. It's my brand.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for me to grow that brand, I have to be professional in people's eyes. I have to go
Yep.
shake that kid's hand at a boat ramp.
Yep.
Uh, Reach in my tackle box, say, "Hey, dude, you got one of these? This is what the fish are fighting today.
Mm-hmm.
Here, take it."
Absolutely.
Um,
You're
but
you're you're providing an experience. That's what
yeah,
you're providing. You're not
Yep.
just taking people fishing. You're providing an experience when you run a club. You're
Yep.
you're going to provide them a dinner. You're going to provide them a banquet, a trophy, a check, door prizes. It's more than just fishing, and you're exactly right.
yeah,
And when it comes to that type of marketing, those event pages, the videos that you do to get people there, um, it's a lot of work. That's the reason when I started the West Virginia Kayak Anglers paid group back in 2017, and I ran it through 2020. And then after 4 years, I got burnt out, and one of my buddies took it over and ran it for the last 3 years. We're not doing tournaments this year. We're keeping our nonprofit. We're running podcasts and other activities on the page until probably next year, and then we'll sit down and reevaluate and see if somebody wants to come in and start running stuff again. But Dan, you know how it is when we get up to where we are now, man. I don't want to be stuck doing online tournaments monthly, grading fish every day,
yeah,
doing a live tournament every day, which you're doing. I'm sure you're doing now. But in a few years, you'll be like, "Hey, I'm retired now. I want to get in my truck. I want to drive up see John Rapp, West Virginia. I want to fish the New River for 3 days, and then I'm gonna go up fish
yeah,
Lake Erie for 3 days."
Yep.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. You know, on my off days, I've been off for the last 2 days. Yesterday was my wife's weekend, what we call my wife's weekend, because I got to work the weekend, and so I just spent the day with her. Today, you know, I got up, did some social media stuff, and then just that
it's work,
you got
man.
to do you got to do as a brand. You got
Yeah,
to do as a brand,
People
and
don't realize how much work
people
goes
don't
into
know.
a social media
no.
post, man. It's crazy.
If I could show you how many graphics I've got on my file right now that I've
Yeah,
created today,
yeah.
that and
Yep.
I'm fixing to run a big tournament up in Macon, Georgia, which starts the Georgia Tour Kayak Series, and this is the first year I've done it. I've reached out to the Visit Macon. They've come on board with me. They want to do part of the event. Um, so they've got sponsor money they want to put towards it. So you know
Um,
that's a big deal for me and my brand, and I have to make
yep.
sure that brand is represented the correct way. So Visit Macon will invite me back. I think we got
I
John
hear you.
froze up here.
Am I back yet?
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, it looks like you're
Yeah,
back now.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's the God's country internet here.
yeah. So USA Kayak Fishing said people can differentiate between the rep and the brand if the brand is responsive to feedback. Exactly right. I've got to be responsible. If people give me feedback, let me take that feedback in, roll through it,
Yeah.
and then push it back out to an answer to them saying, "Hey, this is what we're doing. This is where we want to go," and things like that.
Yeah, and you
So
also refer them to the rules that you already have on your website.
yeah,
Things like that, stuff that you've already set in stone.
yeah. And he told me that was a personal invite to fish with you, there, John.
Damn right, buddy. Always welcome up here.
Yeah.
I
So
gotta move south. That's all there is to it. We're in the weirdest, like the last two
yeah,
seasons of wintertime up here. It's like there's no ice, or at least safe ice,
Where are you
and there's
at?
no open water. I'm in Vermont, so I'm in the
Okay.
Northeast. So we get normally. I can't say normally. I mean, the last 3-4 years really, but right now I've been ice fishing twice this year. One of them was probably honestly sketchy, but the problem is we'll go 28, 28, 30, and then all of a sudden it'll be 50, 50, 40, 50, and then 28, then it will rain. So we're getting like this weird honeycomb ice that isn't really good for ice fishing, and
No.
it's you can't lake fish because the lakes are frozen enough. So we're kind of in that weird loop where I'm honestly out in my shed pouring plastics and organizing crap and trying to figure out, that's the thing about being a content creator. Is that's the other thing that gets tricky is, we up here in the north, we got an off season. So a lot of times I try to make like educational stuff or do podcasts because to keep the content flowing, you got to go to trade shows, you got to meet people, you got to figure out something that somebody wants to watch. Sometimes the video that hit today and like probably my next 5 fishing videos were recorded in like August. They just weren't ones that I was as impressed with as I was the ones that I put out in August. I kind of saved them, so I got a little something to show this time of year, but it's people don't realize like how much I have a schedule all the way to the end of the year of planned videos. Like people don't realize how much goes into just
Yeah.
getting a channel maintained. And then you get like guys like Daniel who not only do that, but then run a podcast and run a tournament trail and get his hands on any other type of stuff. Like you got to be kind of a different type of animal to really want to do all this stuff. But it's fun to me. This is a hobby. This is something I do for enjoyment. Anytime I see a new subscriber on my YouTube, I'm like, sweet. Like
I'll have to
all
look that
makes it
up
worth
so
it.
I can add one to that. Hey Tim, I see your question there, buddy.
Says
Have you got your battery wet?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely, dude.
Lithium is not an issue about getting wet because they're
No.
sealed, so you don't have to worry too much about
they're
that.
Yeah.
100% yeah.
I have literally unhooked it in the rain. Like
Yeah,
I've had it sitting in water. I have a plastic bin. It's actually one of these right here. It's kind of like one of these little plastic Tupperware containers you buy at Walmart. I basically zip tied it to the support pillar in the front of my kayak to put my battery in there so it doesn't just end up in the back of my kayak when I tip it up. And that filled with water one day. And it was sitting in water with the terminals in the water, and I fished the entire day with it like that, and I'm sure it isn't necessarily good for it with the wires coming out of it in the water, but I didn't have a single problem with it. 12 volt doesn't really work like that with water anyways. Like, you're not going to get electrocuted from 12 volt. That's not how 12 volt works, but I haven't had any issues with it, like the terminals rusting. I haven't had any issues with that battery failing. I literally left it one time. I forgot it was in my kayak, and I had it sitting in my kayak in the sun for a week, uncovered in the tank well, and still no issue. Like I'm impressed with that battery. Like I thought for sure. And it's funny because you heard all those stories of like the Samsung phones that were like blowing up on airplanes and crap, and people think that or Tesla's catching on fire. They just automatically assume. But I have put my battery through. I've dropped it on the boat ramp, on a concrete boat ramp. I wouldn't recommend it, but it still works. I don't know if I killed any of the cells in it, but it still works.
Well, certainly. So, guys, we've been going for about an hour now. That hour passed pretty quick after a 30-minute intro that we didn't go live on.
Yeah, we mean an hour and 30 minutes.
Absolutely.
But we'd like to give everybody a shout out for joining us tonight with John. Had a good conversation with John here, and hopefully we can get him back on the podcast later on the year after the fishing.
Anytime, but guys,
you
need someone to chat. Yeah, anytime y'all need someone to chat, give me a shout. So
yeah, and thank y'all. And if you're out on the water, always wear your PFD. Definitely.
Definitely.
And John,
cold weather.
Shout out your cold weather, dress for it. If you want to shout out your social media, go for it.
Yeah, man, guys, look me up. I am on YouTube at WV Rap, And you can find me on the same with Instagram. Instagram, I think, is JK Rap Jr. Facebook is JK Rap Jr. Um, and I'm on Twitter as well. And I stream on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter when I do my streams through StreamYard. So Tuesday nights, if you're bored, come hang out and jump in the chat room and help me with the interactive part of this show. Because as you guys have done tonight, all you guys that have been part of this interactive show tonight, y'all been wonderful, and we appreciate you. So.
Okay. And with that, I'm gonna end up with a little video that I stole off of Zpro's page. How about that? And let them see the brand and all the batteries here before we go. Let me play this little video right
Probably
quick.
Jacob.
Zpro lithium right here. So, as you see, they make every single battery you could possibly need for your outdoor adventure, from a 12 volt 10 amp hour to a 12 volt 50 amp hour, all the way up to a 36 volt 55 amp hour battery. They have everything to cover you. I love these batteries because I know when I get on the water, I'm good to go. I don't have to worry about, it running out of juice. It keeps me going all day long. And we're on the water for at least 10 to 12 hours a day, pre-fishing, 8 hours a day during tournaments. And I know I've got the power to get me from point A, point B, spot lock. My electronics are good, and everything is going to be solid throughout the day.
There you go.
Zpro, yeah, and if you got any questions, guys, if you guys got any questions, definitely shoot me a message, and I'll definitely do what I can to answer it. If I don't know the answer, I'll tell you, and I'll get it for you. I'll get you the answer. So,
okay. And their website is ZproLithiums.com, correct?
Yes, ZproLithium.com. Yep.
So, thank you for joining. Everybody, fish on and be safe.